working.
Everything what you touch. Hey. Zašto ja imam utisak da ga to ni stalno provocira?
Okay, what's important for you to see are the joints. Because basically, like most of them are in the joint. And when you have three phases, normally the phase that has a what are you smiling about all the time, Tony? Basically, when you have a fault, what I look at when I look at TDR, all the traces are the same color, well, they're different colors, and they'll follow one another. But normally, in a fault where there's a problem fault, one of them will just have a little difference. Okay. Normally, in a joint, you'll see a little difference in the TDR. Okay. Normally. Okay. This is what you want to see. What the new teleflexes do now is they do this. They filter all this out. All this is filtered. Okay. They come out, they come here, then you have like this, and you have like this, and like that. Yeah, you don't see this, okay? So, when I couldn't find the second fault I was on, the only thing I didn't think about this. I was just looking at this, but I didn't remember that I've got to see these joints. So what had happened was I couldn't do arms, so I had to use ice. I had to use current coupling. Because that's the only thing I could use because I wasn't getting anything with arm. But I was getting the worst, I was getting the most craziest arm ice pictures I've ever seen before. Normally ice looks like this. Yeah, you see something like that for ice normally, okay? You can sometimes maybe see little crap up here, you know. But whenever you look at an ice picture, this here's plus, here's minus. This is what's important. All up here is unimportant. This is what's important. The minuses, okay? This is what I was expecting to see. What I was seeing was this was way out there. You know, it was nothing in between. So I thought, okay, good, this has to be something. And I measured it. And when you measure, I always measure from the points here. Okay. And this was about 2.5 kilometers. Okay. And I thought, okay, let me go back to my teleflex and look again on my teleflex. And so when I went to my teleflex, then I knew I had to look at my joints. So then I knew in my mind I had to make adjustments to the teleflex. And if I had done this at the beginning, I might have known at the beginning the fault was there. I had something like this. Something like this. Then I had a real wide swing like this, and then end of my cable. And from here to here was 2.5 kilometers. And the fault was in this joint. And if I had took the filter out, I would have seen that really super wave. So sometimes, like I say, these little filters, they're not good.
You know, svaki kvar je za sebe ti zajebani.
I've been on faults where people they don't connect the screens in the joint.
Znači, bio sam na kvarima gdje nisu širmovi, oklopi, plaštevi spojeni.
To je jako lijepo.
Zašto?
Zašto?
Nisu plašt prespojili
u spojnici. I ako imaš jedan ovdje takav, drugi tamo, a ovo između je onda je lepo.
And the next thing with arm, one thing they have to get accustomed to.
Spojnici, ali nije mogo da vidi, da se setio da isključi filter na telefleksu, znači bez ikakvog udarnog, bez naponske metode, čistim merenjem kabla. već bi mu on pokazao da je greška na spojnici zbog velikog talasanja, ali bi uključen neki filter, znači treba znati i pored u radu sa golim reflektom.
Okay, a few things they need to understand about ARM, okay?
Još par stvari napomena oko ARM metode.
You have your output,
Izlazni
and you have your joint, you have your joint, you have your...
spojnica i kraj kabla.
Kraj flomastera.
The end of the thing.
Okay.
The green one.
Yeah, we'll try the green one now. Okay.
Green is dead.
One thing that they've got to understand, sometimes they'll see a little difference. Sometimes they'll see, this is the faulty trace coming out.
Ovo je trag greške.
Okay. So they have problems here. Their question, because the teleflex does its own measurement with the cursor, the teleflex will see this as the fault. So the cursor will come here. But that's not the fault.
Vrlo mala je greška,
Okay.
teleflex to vidi zato što ima mala razlika između
The fault is here.
Razilaženje.
Okay. And the trouble is my color. I can't get my colors to work. Let's say this is the green.
Recimo da ovo zeleno.
And I'll go to this a second again. Okay.
Teleflex automatski postavlja kursor na prvom mimoilaženju.
The cursor will come here. Because the teleflex is, the way they're built, they recognize an impedance difference.
Prepoznaje razliku u impedanciji.
And the question is, well, why does that do that?
I pitanje zašto je to tako.
When you have your normal healthy trace,
Kad imate zdrav kabel,
you have maybe, damn it, I hate these things. You have maybe 100 volts going down, okay?
znači prilikom rada s teleflexom to je oko 100 volti.
And it reflects back.
I on se reflektuje nazad.
The next one that goes down, you have a minimum of
Imate minimalno
2 kV.
2 kV. Directly from teleflex.
No, what you do is you have, no, not from the teleflex, from the LSG, okay?
Iz LSG,
Yeah, okay.
okay.
What happens is you're having, all of a sudden you're doing like an insulation test. That's almost like taking your multimeter on a cable and putting your multimeter, and the multimeter says meg ohm. But then you put an insulator tester on there, the insulator tester is going to say 5 kilo ohms.
Okay, just a
Yeah.
second. There are guys that do not understand English so
Okay.
fast and quickly, so
Yeah.
I'll try to repeat. Znači, kaže, uglavnom radiš na merenju izolacije kabla, to je suština pronalaženja kvara. I kaže, kad dođeš sa voltmetrom koji meri voltmetrom ili nekim instrumentom za merenje izolacije, on kaže da je izolacija 1 megaohm. Međutim, kad dođeš sa pravim meračem izolacije, on kaže 5 kiloohm.
So what's it saying is here at this location, the teleflex sees a difference in the insulation.
Znači, ono što
But
teleflex
not a
vidi je
fault.
razlika u impedanciji i ne mora da bude greška.
Okay, so that's not the fault. The fault is always,
Greška je uvek na...
first thing you look for, one second. The first thing you look for is the cross,
Znači,
where
prvo gde
the
treba da vidite
faulty,
ukrštanje.
the faulty crosses over and above the healthy trace.
Znači, greška uglavnom ide preseca ispravni trag, preseca ide iznad njega.
This is what you look for. When you see
Znači,
that,
tražiš vrh
the
koji
fault
je
is in this direction,
iznad zdravog traga.
and the fault has to be lower
I greška je ispod.
than this. So there's the fault.
Znači, tu je greška.
Okay, that's the worst you could see. But normally the faults are a lot more to
To je
see.
najgore što možeš da očekuješ da bi prepoznao na ovaj način.
Normally the
Ali
fault's like
normalno
this,
su greške
okay?
mnogo dublje.
But it
Znači,
could
ali
be,
suština je u presecanju ove crvene i crne, odnosno ispravne i neispravne.
it could be, well, the first thing you want to see is this here, where they cross. That's the first thing you want to see. And when you see that, then you look back.
Just a second, I'm not sure that I understood. Why do you point here and you say the cross? I see cross here. Crossing red and black or what?
This, no. Yeah, cross, the faulty trace goes higher than the reference trace.
Than the referent.
Yeah, this is,
Okay.
they cross over here,
Yes.
but here you can see it, you see it definitely.
Aha, ok.
There is-
Znači, čisto
You see
da
it.
znaš da preseca negde
Tricky.
referentnu crtu, prepoznaćeš po tome što je ova sa greškom iznad.
Is he saying the right thing?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, so when I see this, and I know it's crossed, I know my fault is in this
Znači,
direction.
kad vidim da je prešla crvena i znači ova sa greškom preko referentne, znam da mi je pre toga negde greška.
So I look back here,
I vraćam se nazad do mesta gde se preseca. Znači, ne mora biti velika, duboka, dovoljno mala, znači uočljiva, ali je bitno da vidim da je prešla preko i onda se vraćam nazad da potražim mesto gde je
Jesi ovo
izgleda.
posebno plaća ili je ovo
Ali
isto
tu
uopšte?
ti oni, to je dobro
The
zato što...
question is this extra paid or the meal for tonight is okay?
yeah, okay, okay, good.
Večeras je sa nama u restoranu, tako da
It's okay.
ovo shvatio je šalu.
Another thing that most people have to understand is that there is no teleflex in the world that can tell you exactly the
Znači, ne
length of the
postoje
fault.
reflektometar koji vam govori o vrsti greške.
Zero, okay? And also pre-location is a approximate
Znači,
of it.
makrolokacija. Robert, just for your knowledge,
Yeah.
we translate pre-location as macro location.
Macro?
Macro, that's
Yeah.
a proximity.
Yeah.
In that way, we say macro. It is huge, big, not pinpointing. And pinpointing, we say micro location.
Okay.
Just for your knowledge. So
Okay.
they understand difference between pre-location as macro and pinpointing as micro.
Okay, and on their teleflexes, they have no way in the world 100% to say what their velocity is.
Znači, brzina prostiranja, niko ne može tačno da vam kaže u zavisnosti od
Never.
vrste kabla. Nikad ne možete
Never in a
tačno
million
znati.
years. Leave it at 80. Always just leave it
Držite
at
ga na
80.
80, na vrednost od 80.
Pite ga bez obzira na naponski nivo.
Naravno, bez it doesn't matter of the voltage of the cable, voltage range.
No, it doesn't matter. It only matters of what type of cable you have. If you're working with, let's say for instance, if you're working with a data transferring cable,
What kind of cable?
communication cables,
Oh,
pilot
data,
cables,
okay. Data,
pilot
telecom.
cables. Energy cables, it doesn't matter. Could
Za
care
energetski
less.
nije bitno za telekom, za telekom je
Kod
bitno.
energetskih.
Most people spend half their life trying to say they know the exact velocity. You'll never know.
Brzina prostiranja, ljudi provedu pola života da ustanove tačnu brzinu prostiranja kroz određenu vrstu kabla, ali to nikad nije
Recimo
tako.
da sam ja recimo iz iskustva rekao nije švaba džabe namestio na 80.
Zašto?
Šta nije džaba
Nije
napraviti?
džabe namestio na 80 ili 82.
It is not for nothing that you said 80 or 82.
Yes, I've been doing this 23 years,
Kaže, radim to već 23 godine.
and I only can count to 80. So
I znam da brojim samo do 80.
no, basically, I started doing fault locating years ago before they even had this nice stuff you have today. We didn't have this.
Znači, radio sam na ovim poslovima pre nego što ste dobili sve ove lepe
All we
igre.
had was burning, ice, loop on, loop off. We didn't have arc stabilizers
Sveći
back
se što
then.
je Čičo pričao, mora pregorevati 2 sata da bi mogo pucat s 5 kW.
So burning for 2 hours and then to search for 5
No,
kilowatts. The
if
history.
anybody burns for 2 hours, they don't know what they're doing.
To moramo reći majstor.
It's the old guy.
Kod
The old
gore od
guy.
2 sata, taj ne zna šta
You
radi.
burn for 2 hours, you're just walking a
Ako
car.
paljuješ 2 sata kabel da bi pronašao posle na 5 kW udarnim, taj nema pojma šta radi.
The only time you would burn for 2 hours if you know the fault is wet and you're trying to dissipate the water. That's the
Znači,
only
to
time.
radiš samo kad hoćeš da isušiš mesto greške,
Ne,
da znaš da je
nego
vlažno.
njemu nije pucu kabel.
Really, there was
Ne,
no
nije
arc.
pu-
There was no arc.
Oh,
Ali
They
bio
know
ograničen.
there is fault, but there were no arc.
no arc? Okay.
Nije pucao probio bi na višim, ali on nije imao udarnice viših.
They did not have a high voltage for the surge generator,
Okay.
so
Well, there's tricks for everything, but I can't tell you tricks.
why? They want tricks.
No, you can't do it because the trouble is if I tell him a trick, and then he tells it to somebody else and he forgets something important, it could be dangerous.
Da,
Yes.
to je jasno.
So the trick must be
Kaži
100%
lik, ja ga
sure.
prenesim
Yeah.
tebi, to može biti
He
jako...
might forget to...
Ne,
nego između. Ti ćeš reći
zaboravi
drugom
nešto bitno
i
da ti
nećeš mu
prenese,
reći.
nenamerno, jednostavno
Da,
u prenosu nije
to je.
napisano
Ja.
egzaktno i ne
Četnik
želi da
ja.
govori o trikovima kojima se on služi kad je u frci, ali to ste već i sami iskusili, znate i sami kako će...
Iskustvo.
Ne iskustvo, just experience.
Yeah, but we're all electricians, and we all know how we can manipulate current.
Znači, svi električari
know.
znaju kako da se manipuliše sa strujem.
Yeah.
Kako
Kažemo
rukovati.
samo da iz mog iskustva, znači radar kvar ne vidi kad je kabel u vodi.
Okay, the experience about Teleflex, the TDRs, they do not see the fault if it is wet. By his
Yeah,
experience.
that's true.
Kaže, to je istina.
Um,
da.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's why you have the other methods.
I zato postoje druge metode.
And then,
Koju, piti ga koju.
Which one, preferably?
okay, I always start when I have a wet fault. I always start with my arc stabilizing with
Znači, prvo
ice.
sa
Not arc
stabilizacijom,
stabilizing with current coupling.
prvo
Current
sa
coupling.
strujnom metodom, znači ICE ili
Ice.
ICO.
But well, first, see the word wet is relative. The
Znači,
first
relativno je
Da.
šta je to
Šta
vlažno.
je to
the
mokro?
first thing I want to know is, can I dry it out quick? If I can dry it out quick, I'll use the
Pitanje
burner.
da li mogu brzo da ga isušim, tad koristim propaljivač.
Dobro, jasno.
What I do is,
Ono što ja radim,
okay, first of all, if I suspect it's
pre
wet,
svega ako ja sumnjam da je vlažno.
the easy way to prove it is I go to my burner.
Znači jednostavan način je
Okay.
koristeći
Um,
propaljivač.
in the burner, whenever you start with a burner, you always start in the highest position.
Znači
So
uvijek
you would start in
počinjete sa
15,
najjačim, 15 kW.
what's it, what's this, 15 kV in this one? I always start in the 15
Koliko
kV.
je?
Maksimum
15, maybe.
Yeah.
15, yes, about 15.
Ja sam sigurno.
Znači uvijek krenete sa najvećim naponom. Da.
Okay.
Ne, ako sumnjaš da bi dokazao da je vlažno i imaš sumnje na to, uvijek
15.
kreneš sa naj...
So if I want to know that the fault is wet, let's say here's 0, here's 15, and we'll say here's 0, and let's say here's 100 milliamps or something, okay? If I want to know if it's wet, I'll start pulling current, okay? And I'll let it set, and I'll watch it
I
pull current,
gledam šta se dešava sa strujom.
and if my current starts going
Ako
down,
počinje struja da se
and this
smanjuje,
starts to
a nakon
rise,
počinje da se diže,
it's a wet. I know it's wet.
znači da je vlažno.
I know it's wet. Okay.
Pri radu. Okay, but you turn the burner up
No,
to
no.
the 15 kilowatts, to the
No,
maximum.
no. I only okay. No. In the very beginning, I have no voltage because I'm pulling current.
Aha, znači na samom početku nema napona zato što ima velike struje.
I'm not interested in this.
I trenutno me ne interesuje
I'm interested in getting a little current,
Interesuje me samo da dobijem malo struje.
and I'm going to watch the current.
I gledam struju.
You know, I want a steady flow of current. I don't want a jiggling
Želim
amp meter.
stabilno, ne želim da mi...
I want-
Onda stalno ovako radi.
Yeah, I don't want that because I'm not burning.
Jasno.
Ne spaljujem.
If I was burning, then I want that.
Onda ću sigurno dobiti...
I'm just here. He is. He's laughing at me again.
Don't worry about him.
and
Ignore him.
if I'm only determining if it's wet.
Impossible.
I get it to where the current is there, and I keep my eyes on the current
Znači,
and this here.
kad detektujem da je počela struja da se pojavljuje, ok, steady current,
So,
da je stabilno.
after a while,
Posle
if
nekog
this starts
vremena počinje
sinking,
lagano da propada
and this starts
dole,
rising,
a napon počinje da raste,
I know it's wet.
siguran sam da se radi o vlazi.
Okay, I know it's drying out.
Jer je počelo da se suši.
Jasno.
Because it starts to dry out.
Exactly. But if this starts climbing,
Ali ako struja nastavi da raste,
then I'm burning. Nah, turn it off.
Onda dolazi do propaljivanja i smanjivanja.
Then I start using my burning process, how to burn.
I tad počinje propaljivanje.
Okay, to do the burning process, you have to be quick. You got to
Znači,
be
kod
fast.
propaljivanja morate biti brzi.
And that's what are so good about classic vans.
To je dobro kod
Because
klasika.
Tamo može.
a computer van, you'll sit there all day before everything switches. And the worst thing that happens is when you burn a cable, you don't want that bridge that you burnt to cool down.
Čekaj.
To cool down.
You don't want it to
Da
cool
se
down.
ne ohladi.
Znači,
kad jedan propališ, moraš brzo prebaciti na radar da ti promeni, ako
da
se
se ne bi
ohladi,
ohladio
nema ništa
spoj.
Pitanje, da li radar, onaj u mečki, da ima fazon da gori, i da mi pokazuje,
Ovaj nema tu.
ali ne, mi imamo raniji metod. Ja imam deo ostane mi uključen radar i on kad gori, znači radi
Ti vidiš ovo mesto.
ono se mi samo ovako pojavljuje na momente i ja onda zapamtim to mesto, razumeš? I pošto nemam ništa, onda se orijentišem na to mesto i onda mi proverim.
Filter for burning.
Okay, for live burning.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's something you can buy.
Ima, jel?
Ima, postoji.
You can purchase that.
Znači, možete naručiti filter za propaljivanje, za gledanje telefleksom prilikom propaljivanja. Purchase je nabaviti. Nabavka.
It's always something that you can
Nabavka
purchase.
podrazumeva plaćanje.
Da. Ne, pa bitno je da se može nabaviti, to je bila priča, ne?
Postoji.
To da postoji.
Ljudi, just a second, we are talking about money.
Okay. Well, it's like if you buy a car. Yeah.
Because I'm the representative of the company that sell the vehicles to them.
Well,
Finally.
it's basically, it comes down not to money, it comes down, the customer has to first tell you what they want.
Yes.
If they didn't tell you they want it.
That's something I want to tell them.
Okay.
Znači, vi ste tražili to što ste tražili. Mi smo ponudili to što ste tražili, niste tražili više. Došli ste, shvatili ste da vam treba to i to. Znači, sad je na vama da prenesete impresije da vam treba to i to u sledećoj nabavci, u ovoj nabavci, šta god, kako god. Aneks ugovora po tenderima, čisto da znate, dozvoljava 25% dodatak.
Dobro, ali ovo što sam ja pitao, to su retki kvarovi u smislu jedan godišnji.
These kind of faults are very rare, 1 or 2 per year, annually.
Yeah, what he's saying is, first of all, you have to understand that most of the things you have, like ice, burning ice, and the filter he's talking about in DK, this is the old school stuff. This is the stuff we had years ago.
To je sve stara škola, sve već zaboravljene metode, postoje savremeni.
It's been replaced now with ARM. ARM is the number one.
ARM je glavni.
ARM je glavni, okay.
Because years ago the cables they weren't, the joints weren't made that good, the cables weren't that good.
Znači, godinama unazad kablovi i spojenice nisu bile tako dobro.
But I do agree with you. There are times you could use these things.
Slažem se da treba da koristite.
Ako rekao, trebaš poznavati.
Znači, saglasan i sa tim, ne beži on od toga, ali...
Jer pazi, sad spojnicu zovu ojačano mesto kod nas.
Opet desno, Toni. Ključ desno. Ključ.
Nekad je bilo oslabljeno mesto, sad ga zovu ojačano.
Starim spojnicama na zalivanju, plastično.
Okay.
Jednostavno nije htjelo da mi probije posle 3 dana spucanja.
They had problems with some kind of old plastic joints.
They melt.
Zalivena je smolom, kako se to kaže?
They are in resin.
They melt. They heal themselves.
Same se istope. What is the...
Yeah.
What?
Okay, that's...
What is the heal?
Eto.
No, how do you find? Okay, basically, these old joints with the resins in them, the resin melts because of the heat you put into it.
Znači, to se topi zbog neke toplote, okay, it's normal.
And that's why you use the least amount of energy.
Znači, koristite vrlo male količine energije za takve stvari.
Because you don't want to heat up that resin to where it melts over the fault.
Da ga grejete da se ne bi istopio.
That was a problem years ago when the very first arc stabilizers that they had.
Sa prvim stabilizatorima luka.
The old arc stabilizers worked on stabilizing with current.
Znači, stabilizovali su struje preko.
Which was melting the resins.
Koje je topila
The newer arc stabilizers use voltage to stabilize.
Novi stabilizatori luka se koriste stabilizacijom napona, ne struje.
And that's one main reason why I said make sure pre-location is a little energy.
I to je jedan od razloga zbog čega sam insistirao da koristite minimalne energije prilikom prevoda, makrolociranja.
So, I mean, there's, for some like plastic cable, if you have faults in plastic cable that is not in a joint,
ako imate greške u plastičnim kablovima, a znate da nisu u spojnicama,
It could be that ARC won't be able to see it.
Moguće je da ga ARC metodom ne možete vidjeti.
It could be that ICE won't see it.
Može se desiti čak i da strujna IC metoda to ne može vidjeti.
Teško, kažemo teško.
Difficult.
Voltage decay sees it.
Ali zato naponska decay metoda to vidi.
But most people have no knowledge of decay,
Ali većina ljudi nema saznanje i
so they don't believe it.
I ne vjeruju u tu metodu.
And basically you're not supposed to burn plastic.
I u suštini ne treba propaljivati
Govoriti ove
plastične
pa da.
kablove.
But if a person is not used to decay and they don't trust it, then the only way to verify this fault is to burn it.
Znači, ukoliko ne verujete u decay metodu, jedini način je da ga propalite, ali i dalje ne preporučujete propaljivanje plastičnih kablova.
Okej, to. Ali kažete njemu da ulje se recimo propaljuje, a plastiku je inače nikad ne bi.
With oil. Cables with oil.
That's basically easy. Oil
Kaže, u
cables are easy.
suštini to je jednostavno.
Oil cables are basically no problem. Lead cables are problems, but oil cable.
What kind of cables?
Lead. The sheet is lead.
Led. Znači, olovni kablovi su
They're
problem.
A
problems.
to je on ima olovni oklop.
Da.
To ti ulje. Ima ulje i oko njega je olovo.
That kind of cable
To je to.
he is talking about. It is with lead and oil inside.
Pa ima ona izolacija.
When was that made? 100 years ago?
Sorry, but they have these cables.
It works.
From First World War, kaže, to je mator, što je vekovima zavljeno. But these cables are still ground in
Kažemo
Vojvodina.
35 kg ti preko
35 kg.
nosi pola grada, znam ja da je
Half
mater,
of
pa
town
kad je
is
to
on 35
činjenično
kg
stanje.
lead cables.
Yeah, these cables basically, lead cables, what usually happens with lead cables, they get downgraded.
Znači, oni se degradiraju, znači oslabe i...
Da.
They get downgraded. Lead cables for pinpointing are difficult.
Znači, teški su za mikrolociranje.
The older equipment was
Stara oprema je...
for lead cables were better than the equipment
je
today.
bila bolja za olovne nego današnja oprema,
But you can't say that
ali ne smemo to da kažemo.
because when you do pinpointing when you do pinpointing on a lead cable, basically the only thing you can use is the magnetic field that goes down the
Znači,
cable.
prilikom mikrolokacije na olovnim kablovima jedino što možete je is last words.
The magnetic field.
Traženje magnetnog polja.
That years ago, the older equipment that you had from the 1980s,
Znači, opreme iz 80. godina
you
imamo.
had the old Bohme type things where you could actually go from acoustic to magnetic.
Znači, prekidač sa akustične na
And
magnetni prijem.
they were basically for the lead cables because
Uglavnom su bili za te olovne
you
kablove.
would switch it to the magnetic field,
Uključiš magnetno polje,
you would walk the cable until you went
prošetaš
over
kablom i kad
the
završiš,
fault, and then you wouldn't have a magnetic reading anymore.
nema otklona za magnetno polje.
People use that also today, people that know how to use it when you have direct short circuits in a
Znači,
cable.
ljudi koji su to koristili kad imate direktne kratke spojeve u kablu,
With the digiphones and things like that, they try to pinpoint them using that method by just concentrating on the magnetic field.
znači koncentrisujući samo na onu donju crtu magnetnog polja na digifonu.
Ali kaže da ja njega recimo nađem i u ovom klasičnom znači jedna žila prema zemlji, isto koji plastični.
But he used classic method. One live to the ground and the other.
Isto ga nađem klasično kao ovo, jedini problem je ulje u spojnici.
The only problem is the oil in the joint.
Okay, I mean,
Znači nema radara, nema preskoka, pošto ulje zaliva, to razumeš, odmah ga izoluje faktički. Ali dobro, mislim, on je objasnio čovjek